the big butt expert of the world.
Well,
so we know that's very important.
I don't want this to sound bad, but you're going to be looking at a lot of dudes' butts, and you're going to enjoy every second of it.
I will.
When you're in
right.
Indianapolis.
You're right.
There's only one way that can sound, and that's bad if you want to clip that.
Oh, yeah, baby. What's up, everybody? Yo, yo, yo. It's Chris Sims. It's Chris Sims Unbuttoned. We are here Monday after the NFL Combine. Ahmed Fareed is back. We're back together.
Back.
It's always good to see you. And, yeah, I mean, this is Chris Sims Unbuttoned. This is Ahmed Fareed. He is the Big Butts D-Line award giver all year long. It's a theme. We like big bucks, and we're not going to lie, all right? That's just the way it is. Now, we like it, yes, for football purposes. That's what we're talking about.
Correct.
And I did watch lots of butts this weekend.
And did you enjoy it?
I did. As weirdly as that sounds, as you pointed out, I did enjoy it. But it wasn't just butts. It was quads.
Yes.
And traps and biceps and triceps and speed and explosion and always a good kick to the season. Just one, being there at the Combine, meeting the players, getting a feel for them there. And then I am one of those nerds that enjoys sitting down and watching the workout and kind of going through and learning about these guys.
So I'm going to pick your brain about all that. You interviewed so many different players, over 40 players, right?
Actually 60.
60 players?
In 4 days. 60 players in 4 days.
That's insane.
Well, interviews. I shouldn't say players because some of them are coaches and GMs to start the week.
Okay, well, they're
right?
former players, now coaches and GMs in the NFL.
But either way, interviews are interviews. But yeah, it's a great week. One, to catch up with people. Two, you start to hear rumors and thoughts and things going on in the NFL. And then three, like I said, just to see the people in person, see the actual prospects and get a feel for what they look like, their attitude, their charisma, right? You could tell just with answers of like how much they love football or they don't, whatever. So that's always the good thing to glean about this kind of stuff.
It was interesting because Pete sent something in our group chat about Sean Payton talking about Bo Nix and how last year at this time at the Combine, they're like, he didn't throw that well. He wasn't our guy. We weren't really pinpointing him at that point. It wasn't until the pro day and they got to talk to him there. But at the end of that interview, he said the best things about the Combine, and maybe the only useful things, are the medicals and the interviews with the players.
Yeah,
Get to know the guy that's going to be in your locker room every day for the whole season.
Especially, the quarterback position or those positions where you're going to know you're going to be like relying on somebody to be a leader of the group or a guy that you're going to put a lot on mentally. Those meetings are crucial, right? Whether it's just, hey, how, first off, how quick can he answer questions? Is he, right on the ball with everything? And then, hey, let's test him. Let's teach him this. Let's change the subject and then go back and see if he retains all the stuff we taught him, right? So all of that is very important. The medicals are important. But then, hey, the workouts, I don't want to shortchange them because I do think they have value. And I do think we had some guys this weekend within the workouts where we knew they were good players. You wondered where they might go in the first 2 days of the draft, but they had such good weekends that it's like, well, no, that ends that discussion. They will be going on the first day of the draft, somewhere in this range. And I think it does benefit, some of these guys for what they do on the field.
Yeah, and some people might say, well, can't you just look at the film for a lot of this stuff? But film doesn't necessarily have, I want to see how quickly he goes, boom, hits his foot in the ground and goes left 10 yards or whatever, and compare that to everyone else and kind of get a baseline for some of these guys.
Yeah,
it's hard to
it is
apples to apples comparison just off film sometimes.
Exactly right. Sometimes too, you might get a schedule, you're a running back or receiver, you don't really play any top-notch like other teams or other talent on other teams. You got one of those schedules that year where it's like, man, he never played against a big-time defensive back as a receiver or anything. Yeah. How fast is he? I don't really know. Some of these guys he played against, they're not even at the Combine. I don't even know how to gauge it, right? So he looks fast. I think he's fast. But, man, I'd like to see a time next to, or at least run the 40 to kind of verify that, right? Yeah. I think that's where it goes, that it's good. And then, of course, the look test itself with the body. And then, too, with a lot of this it's also a mental test. Like, how professional is this guy? How serious is he taking things? Has he worked hard at all these drills to perform at a high level and shown like a professionalism and a detailedness that's going to carry over? There's some of that goes into this as well, and that's where you learn about these players.
All right, I got a lot to get to. I want to pick your brain about some of the guys who impressed you the most at the Combine with what they did on the field and the interviews too, and what you learned there. I want to ask you about some of the NFL guys that you talked to and what surprised you and what you learned from that. We'll go over some news in a second. I do want to say this is episode 700.
Whoa.
My God.
Whoa. You just realized that right now as Pete wrote it in big letters.
You have done 700 of these.
700 of these with NBC.
And I've done a few hundred.
Hopefully lots of hundreds more.
My God.
I know. 700, I don't really know if that's a significant number or not. I mean, when I think of
I think it
700, I
is.
just think of like home runs. That's when I'm like, I'm in the 700 club with Babe Ruth and Hank Aaron.
Yeah.
But no, it is.
And it's all been clean, too. We've not
one
juiced
swear,
these numbers.
not
These
one
are
thing
all,
bad. No,
Yeah.
but no, it is a cool milestone. 700 tells you we're doing something right.
Yeah.
And it shows you that we're here to stay, and then you and me got something good going.
I love
right
it.
here.
I've said this to you a lot of times. I have so much fun sitting here and talking football with you, and it's maybe the show that I've done more than anything in my life now that I see 700
Damn.
that you have
Damn.
done.
Okay. All right.
and
Either way,
it's-
I'm glad you brought the energy drink today too.
And
Good.
I got that just
For
to
700.
celebrate too. And
No
you know,
red pants though.
I don't want to pander, and people say this a lot. You couldn't do it without the fans or the listeners or the homies, but it's legit true. Like if no one listened to this and no one cared,
Yeah, we
would
wouldn't
not
be here
do
for
it anymore.
700.
Yeah, so we appreciate you for listening to maybe not all 700, but close. Hopefully you've gotten at least into the multiple hundreds there. So I want to talk about the NFL stuff. I want to talk about the combine. Let's start with some comments from the homies because we don't just pander to them. We give their input to everyone else out there. There's the YouTube comments. Caleb Bryce saying, giving a shout out, or getting a shout out on the pod. Easily the highlight of my day. Does this make me officially a homie?
It's official.
100%.
You're
Caleb.
100%. If you're listening like that and commenting, you're a homie. Once you go past a few 4 or 5 listens and you start to be on the consistent, and now you're commenting,
Yeah.
definitely a homie. What up?
I Rolly says I wish there was an NBA version of this podcast.
Well, maybe that'll be coming
Hey,
here
who
at
knows?
NBC at some point. I don't know, but right now we there is nothing that can compare with this
Yeah,
on the NBA.
This will have to be your fix for both of them. Zach says to us, Chris, you smudging that enormous left hand across the fresh ink as you scrawl barely legible notes as part of your greatness.
Thank
Don't
you.
let the machines make you right-handed.
Yeah, don't
I don't
worry.
think they're going to
That's
do
not
that.
going to happen because I don't care what it is. If I have to write right-handed, we definitely won't be able to read anything.
Yeah.
Now, I might use the machines, though. That's going to be the big thing. Using the iPad as a machine, no more paper, no more smudging. I am kind of interested to see how that goes.
ND Obson 81. I just broke that up for no reason. As someone who has mentioned, N. Dobson, sorry, thanks, Pete. As someone who has mentioned you are interested in being a general manager, I think it would be really interesting to hear how you would scout mid-range picks in the draft rather than just the first round or two. If you look at really successful teams or steals as you build there, what are the themes? Big schools, physical players, underrated players, massively successful teams. That's a long question, but people want to get into your brain outside of just the top guys, so we're gonna have to add some more players to your
please
scouting
do that.
list.
No, I mean, listen, I get what he's saying there, and I certainly do think of those stuffs. Now, no, this is not going to be the place you go for the draft if you're looking for, player 285 on the board, right? That's not usually where we go. We usually don't go that far down in our evaluations,
we
right?
don't.
One of that is because a lot of people don't want to hear about those players on a consistent basis, and we know the news cycle is dominated by the top of the draft, the marquee players, the ones that are command assets, the assets that are going to command a lot to get if somebody wanted to trade for something, whatever it may be. So, I mean, I think generally how I kind of look at it, and just so our N. Dobson 81 knows, is, I'm real heavy into, let's say, the top 150 to 170 of the draft. I think that's kind of where we've been through our years together. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm not the guy that you're going to dive into 6th and 7th round guys with all necessarily.
Do most GMs do all of it? Do they have a pretty good handle on all of the prospects?
They do. They have a pretty good handle on all of it. And then as they go, even them here, right? There's going to be some guys down the line where they're like, again, everybody's got a pretty generally, here's the top 150, let's say. Everybody's board in the NFL is going to be somewhat in the same range, right? With a few guys that are not on my board but are on your board or whatever. Just a few, right? But as you get later down in the rounds, that's where it can change. And that's where, I think there's still GMs, other people like that. Well, they'll continue to do diligence on those guys as they go. They still don't have great feel for it because it's going to be one of those things too where, there's guys, hey, he's on our radar. We have a grade on him. He didn't go to the combine, but then we went to the pro day, and damn, he should have been at the combine. He was damn good. We need to look him up. Hey, Johnny in the scouting department, make me a tape of blah, 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 blah. I saw him. He's interesting. He's big. He gets off the ball well. We might need to make sure he's in our top 275 or whatever, right? So down the line, guys, I do think there's still like some of the big decision makers probably aren't that deep into. Right?
Yeah, is there one or two that pop to your mind of like best ways that you think you'd be able to identify sleepers late in the draft? Is it off physical tools? Is it off, small schools that weren't in the spotlight that much? What do you think some of the big
I feel
ones
like
would be?
we usually do a pretty good
kinda
job of
do,
that,
yeah.
right? I mean, we brought up guys like Jalix Hunt last year, who the Eagles took in the 4th round out of, I can't even remember the name of the school. It's so small in Houston and in Texas there, right? I can't even call it off the top of my head. So, I'm aware of those type of guys, certainly, right? And what was the school, Pete? Houston Christian, right? So again, I'm looking at those guys and doing all of that stuff, and of course I'm looking at that. But I guess maybe I'm just not doing as much deep down the road. No, I'm looking first off, and what I guess you're asking me is, guys that physically I think have traits that look like, ooh, that's elite, or there's something that's very close to elite that we might be able to bring out in the NFL. And I don't give a damn what school it is or where it's at. I mean, if you have those attributes, you got them, and then you just got to hope. Wait, can he take it to the next level? How is he going to work with the tougher competition? Is he going to be used to that? How long will it take him to adjust? All those things are what you got to ask yourself from those guys from those schools.
I didn't mean to cut you off, but
No,
so
you're
the
good.
Combine can really help those guys more than maybe even the stars that we know
I think those
already.
are a lot of the guys it helps. It helps guys where, hey, wait, is he a second rounder or a first rounder? We kind of got him in the top 45. Oh, shit, he's a first rounder. Look at this workout. That's okay. That's done, right? And then, yes, the other guys, it's like the Combine helps, for one, to just have them there standing next to some offensive lineman going, well, he looks like the rest of the group. That's a good start right there. Oh, damn. He moves as well as the guy from Alabama. Okay, that's good. I mean, he did that drill, looked every bit as good. So, yes, for those guys, it's more of a easing, like, oh, okay, it is what I thought. Okay. And that's where the Combine benefits those type of guys. And yes, those are also the type of guys who haven't been big time football. They haven't had maybe in pressure packed situations under the spotlight, like maybe somebody from Ohio State or Texas, right? And this is where you get your chance to kind of see how they react in those moments.
So, and Dobson, over the next 2 months, we actually will get into some of those guys that are
we will.
farther down
We
on
will.
the list that Sims has caught his eye as we go on here. All right, we're going to get to the prospects, get to the Combine, what Chris learned, but first we got some NFL news that happened while you were in Indianapolis at Elmo's having that shrimp cocktail or whatever they do there. First of all, we'll start with the 49ers. Reports is that they have agreed to a trade. Deebo Samuel going to the Commanders. 5th-round pick, I think, is what
it was.
The compensation is out there. So just your initial thoughts on the end of an era, really, because he was a face of that franchise for a lot of on the offensive side of the ball for sure.
You're right. It's kind of sad from that standpoint, right? But I think that's where we are with the 49ers. We're going to kind of be on a retool, refurbish the team on the go here as we go forward. I think slowly but surely we're going to see the core of this team dissipate over maybe this year into next year, and they're going to have to kind of change things over. I'm not shocked by this with Deebo. You know it. We all knew he wanted to be traded. I guess I was shocked that it happened this quickly. I did not think it was going to happen Saturday evening, right? Had heard plenty of conversations about it, had people, at the Combine, coaches, front office people like, hey, what do you think your boy's actually going to get for Deebo, right? So there's that question out there. I think a lot of people are maybe surprised by they see 5th-round pick next to a guy that has been a household name for 5 or 6 years like you're talking about. He's been one of the top weapons on one of the best teams in football pretty consistently through 5 years here, right? So I think when the first thing I got from at least friends, right, not people inside the NFL world, were like, damn, the Commanders got him for a 5th round? I can't believe that. Well, really? Why can't you believe it? I mean, let's break that down a little bit here. One, he's 29 years old, and he's probably played the wide receiver position as physical as anybody we've ever seen, right? I mean, ever. I mean, you can really say that. 2, right, he's making a good amount of money. 3, the production has not met the money or what the player used to be. Right, so you're scared too of like, wait, we're on the downside? Is it about to fall apart really quickly? Right, and 3, we've discussed many times here on this podcast, right, where he's not the kind of guy you can just line up outside and go, you beat Pat Surtain and Jair Alexander and Trent McDuffie all game long. He can't do that. We've talked about his inability to separate from the top tier corners. That's why Kansas City was such a tough matchup for them in the Super Bowls those years, because Kansas City was like, we'll play in your face man to man. We're not going to let Shanahan manipulate these zone coverages with all these cool ideas he has, right? So all of those reasons led to his value not being high, let alone the 49ers already said they wanted to trade him, and they acted like they didn't really want him anyways. And they were like, we grant your permission, right? So that hurts his value as well. So I think all of those things just at a base level are why he's gone from San Francisco. San Francisco is trying to, yes, I think, turn the page we've had this conversation a little. I know I said this on the podcast last week with Connor. I said it again with Florio. The 49ers are rare. It's rare that you have so many players on your team that are all top 3 paid people in football at their position, right? Ayuk, McCaffrey, Kittle, Trent Williams, Bosa, Fred Warner, right? There's 6 guys right away who are at the top 2 or 3 highest paid guys at their position in football. The nickelback, Demondre Lemonnier, right?
Oh, yeah.
He's one of the top nickelbacks in football, right? DeAndre Lemonnier. Sorry, I always mess up his name. I'm the worst with that one. I don't know what it is. I can't get. But you see my point. So they're trying to trim the fat here as we go, and that's where, I understand the trade from them. And I also, even though I say those negative things, understand where Washington sees value and says, we don't give a damn. We'll pay him $17 million this year.
Sure.
I know it's the last year of the deal. It's a 5th-round pick. We can afford that, but we need him right now. And there is value for what I think he can do for their team if a certain formula is met there.
Is there any concern, and I thought this too,
Yeah.
I've loved Deebo for a long time. I just love the way he plays and runs. He looks unlike any other receiver. Yeah. I did wonder watching him the last year. I'm like, he doesn't quite look like the same guy anymore. And I think the draft compensation speaks to that and what he was worth. I do wonder if there's a problem with, I don't think the Washington Commanders are going to sign him to an extension before the year. I do wonder if that's already been talked about.
I know. No, I think he's going to have to prove it and play at a high level to get an extension or get more money. I do. And with the 5th-round pick, there's not going to be that pressure on the Commanders to feel that, right?
Yeah.
If they go through the year and they go, hey, it's been good, but it's not great, and we don't want to commit $20 million a year or something like that to you going forward, they're going to be like, all right, it was good, but thank you. And, yeah, we lost a 5th-round pick, but we liked what we saw. If he plays out of this world, good. And he gets re-energized like we've seen a lot of people do, right, when they get traded, right, where it's like, he's kind of coming to the end, but then they go to a new team, and there's a new vibe, and, this quarterback's cool, and Jaden Daniels, right, and, damn, they wanted me, obviously, and, with that, everybody's watching me, and there's a little pressure here, and there's excitement around the franchise. Like, we've seen players, Joe Mixon, re-energized, Adam Thielen, re-energized when he went to Carolina. I mean, there's a million stories like that, right?
Yeah.
So I wouldn't be shocked here if he again, a little pissed off. I've only got traded for a 5th-rounder. I'm going to work a little harder this offseason. But, I mean, you've said it. It's the hits that he's accumulated. He held out for a contract. He came out of that contract out of shape, wasted a year there, and you just worry about that. Then you look at the stats and the production the last few years, and they don't warrant like top of the market type money at the receiver position. And this is where, to me, it's paramount. They need something else. I don't think their work is done here at receiver in Washington.
Okay.
I wouldn't want Deebo Samuel just to be my number 2, right? I wouldn't want, hey, Terry's on the outside, Deebo's on the outside over here. We just talked about Deebo's not that kind of guy where you're just like, he can just run by top-tier corners and we can throw go routes to him and do all that stuff all day long. No, Deebo, at this point of his career, the best thing would be having Terry McLaurin outside, signing another free agent or maybe De'Ami Brown back or something like that, and you have him on the outside, and now you let Deebo be the weapon man in the middle of the field. Right? He can run all the slot option routes. He can catch the ball over the middle off those play action passes like we've seen Shanahan throw him, and then he's physical and he doesn't flinch with people around him, right? You can, in the slot, speed sweeps, reverses, fake the speed sweep. Jaden Daniels keeps the bootleg going out the back door, right? So that's, to me, where his value is. You don't want him to be your, hey, we're just going to line you up here and we're going to line you up here and you'll beat man-to-man all day and we'll just keep feeding you the ball. That's not what he is. He needs a certain help and formula there, and that's where I say, in their perfect world, get another or have another outside presence so he can work the slot, and that's where he's at his best.
Yeah, I didn't realize that basically all the other guys for Washington are free agents.
They're gone.
Unrestricted free agents.
Right?
Zacchaeus, Crowder, Brown. You got Luke McCaffrey, you got Deebo, and you got McLaurin.
That's it.
Now,
That's
so they
those
rebuild
three.
it.
Right. And that'll work too. I mean, even with McCaffrey, McCaffrey's ideally going to be a slot guy too. And, if you wanted to put Deebo outside on a certain play, McCaffrey, you'll be able to trust him inside. McCaffrey can go outside. But no, they're not done there. They're not going to leave that room as is. I would think they get another somewhat, I don't want to say marquee, but a guy that is on the outside that can separate from people a little bit and has a little juice in his legs to run by, corners and man-to-man situations.
Yeah, and real quick before we finish up this one, Derek Weatherford wants to know from you, hey, fellas, what do you think the 49ers do at wide receiver? Do they move Ayuk? And that's surprising hearing those reports now that maybe he's on the trade block as well.
I know. I mean, that's out there, and I know everybody looks at me and goes like, I'm going to have the answers because I know Shanahan and Lynch.
Yeah,
and
what did he tell you? What did he tell you about
I don't know any of this. I did talk to John Lynch for a good amount out there at the Combine last week, but it was more catching up with life and seeing how you're doing. We didn't get into nitty-gritty or football moves, nor do I ever ask him about this stuff because I don't want him to feel uncomfortable. That's just not the way the relationship works, right? But the Ayuk situation is odd. One, you know me. I was always in the don't pay Ayuk what they paid him. I didn't love that deal. Mm-hmm. I don't think he's in that class. I don't think he's one of the 4 or 5 best receivers in football. Let alone, I know he ruffled feathers out there. They said that with how he acted last year. I mean, he wanted to be traded. They found a trade partner. Then he didn't want to do it. Then he was like, I'll only go to this team. Oh, actually, I don't even want to go to that team anymore. I just want to stay here, right? The way he acted in training camp, being there, being a little bit of a distraction. You heard the players talk about it. You heard the coaches talk about it. So he didn't win himself any favors there.
And he didn't play that well
then he didn't play that well. He dropped the ball, then you get hurt. Now, with the contract and the injury, his trade value is going to suck.
Yeah.
They're not going to. So if they do trade him, it's going to be just like they just don't want him, and they just want to get the money off the books, and they want to start new and start doing something there.
If they did that, would it signal they're punting this year?
I would think so, yes. Yes. Like punting where, hey, they're the 49ers, and there's still good players there, and they're going to be competitive. But would it be punting a little bit to where, like, yeah, I think they're saying they realistically aren't going to go to the Super Bowl this year.
Yeah.
So they're just going to try to be tough, competitive, maybe outdo expectations.
Sure.
But they're playing for the future a little bit more and not going to ruin 4 years down the road just for the sake of this year to go, hey, we're going to get to the NFC Championship game or something like that. So, yeah, that would be a big one to me, and I'll be interested. And, again, like I said, I have nothing there. They got Pearce, they got Jennings, right?
Yep.
Shanahan is a master at finding receivers and getting them open, right? I know he hasn't had some of the best luck with some of the maybe the top picks or whatever, but, man, Ayuk's worked out. Deebo was pretty damn good.
Got George Kittle there still as
Pearce
a pass
looked
catcher.
right,
Yeah.
right? So, yeah, this would be one if they do trade him. Obviously, they're going to need somebody else and have to find somebody else in free agency or whatever to add to that room.
Still would be surprising if they traded Brandon Ayuk.
I think
What would
so.
not be as surprising is this next report. Jets entertaining calls for wide receiver Davante Adams, will likely release him if no trade emerges. That's not a real shock.
Oh, no. What's the shock is there's no way that anybody's trading for Davante Adams. So how about we just erase that line and go, we'll likely release him when no trade emerges, which is going to happen. Like, no one's trading for Davante Adams going, we want to pay a guy in the last year or two of his career Jamar Chase money. That's what he's going to be making. He has these fugazi last 2 years of his contract to make the average year look better.
So he needs to be released, reset that, and then see where his value is on the free market.
Exactly right. Let alone, I think that's ideally probably what he wants to. So now he can pick where he wants to go. He doesn't want to be traded at this point of his career to some crap team. One of the reasons he got out of the Raiders and went to the Jets was he's going, I'm coming to the end here. I want one more run at a Super Bowl. So ultimately, he's not going to restructure his deal or do anything like that. He's going to go, no, you can find a trade partner with me. Screw you, release me, and now I'll go sign a 2-year, $40 million contract with some other team or somebody. Right. He's still good. Don't get me wrong. Davante Adams is still a good player, right? He could still beat people on the outside. It's not on the regular. It's another guy where you want, hey, on the outside, he can win out there, but slot, he's damn good too. He could do both.
A number 2 on a good team?
He could be definitely a number 2 on a good team. Yes, he's still worthy of that. And really probably could be a low-level 1 on a bad team, right?
Yeah.
But I think ideally where he is in his career, and I think he would tell you this, the best spot would be for him to go somewhere where, there's a 1, he's the man, and I get all the benefits for you guys worrying about how to stop him, and here I am on the backside working people with my slant routes and my back shoulder fades and all that stuff. And that's where there's going to be the value for Davante Adams.
That'd be cool to watch.
Yeah,
Matthew Stafford is staying with the Rams. We talked last time we were together. You basically said this is what was going to happen.
I know
there was a lot of chatter out there. It's like he's free to go. Maybe
I had
he's
a
not
fight
happy.
with Florio a lot on this one.
did?
Well, he thought it was more real. And I was like, this is just a contract standoff.
Florio would have loved it to be more real. He
Well,
likes
of course,
the
he
controversy
loves
and
that. He loves the
change up. There'd be way more stories if
Right,
Matthew Stafford
right.
goes to the Giants or Raiders.
Big drama there.
Not quite as intriguing if he stays put, which is exactly what he did. So you're not surprised. Are you surprised at all how it worked out? I don't know if you got
I think
any
he just
inklings on what happened behind the scenes, but
I think he just had to needle the Rams a little bit or show them hey, I'm still good and these teams are still willing to pay me big money.
you think the Rams budged a little bit? You think they
I
both
do.
moved
In
a
my
little
heart
bit?
of hearts,
Yeah.
yes, I do. I think they probably were here's a number, and he was like, what? I'm not doing that. And that's where they probably granted him permission to talk to other teams. They got offers. Right, and this is something I said. Let's say, of course, the Giants and the Raiders will pay him whatever he wants. I mean, they're desperate.
Mm-hmm.
They're dying to restart their organizations here, right? And the Giants, especially, it's Brian Daboll, Joe Shane. They're fired this year if it doesn't go well. So I don't think they want to go in with the rookie quarterback thing, right? Especially where the league isn't sold that these two guys are just definite top 5 picks and the man yet. Right? There's varying opinions taking that away from the combine and giving you a little insider there.
Yeah.
So that's where, yes, they'll pay him. And I would think these meetings, yes, nudged the Rams up to a more respectable number to where he goes, okay, maybe you're not going to pay me as much as the Raiders or the Giants were, but you close the gap close enough to where I feel respected. You're paying me what I'm worth. And I don't feel damn, I'm on this team and I left all this money on the table for other teams and my family and the future of my life. They closed that gap, and now he can feel comfortable about that, let alone go, all right, now let's make our Super Bowl run. Because that was my big thing I said to you last week, right? It's yeah, I know those teams want him. Why would he want them?
Yeah.
Right? Why would he want to leave a place where the Rams, if they were in the Super Bowl this year, I would be yeah, okay, I'm not shocked. Right? I mean, we know they're trending upwards. They got a lot of pieces to play with, let alone they got some money and draft picks to play with. So watch out for the Rams.
And it probably was one of those where Stafford didn't want to go, but if it's $15 more million to go, then you start to think of it. You're
exactly
I don't
right.
know.
Right.
Then
I'm
it's a
one to go
respect thing.
hey, you got $300 million in the bank. You shouldn't be nitpicky over $5 million a year or something like that. Because on the better team, you win another Super Bowl. You'll have a blank check for whatever commercials and engagements you want to do for the rest of your life. That'll make up the difference in that. But to your point, yeah, if it was damn, there's a difference of 15 or 17 million this year than 15 or 17 million next year. Yeah, I listen, I don't give a shit who you are. Jeff Bezos, Elon Musk, that's hard to go. I'm going to leave $34 million on the table.
And it's one of those things where it's just of course I want to go to the team that is yeah, I'll give you twice what they're going to give you.
Yes.
Right? It just feels bad. Just
you feel man, they really want me.
Exactly.
They're behind me.
They respect
and I
me,
don't have any doubt the Rams really wanted him. The Rams are just trying to balance things a little bit like we talked about with the 49ers. They're in it right now. They've already gone through the hard steps. Now they have the team exactly where they want, and they're going, we have this set up for where we're going to be a pain in the ass for the NFL for the next 5 or 6 years. Mm-hmm. But we don't want to ruin that whole next 5 or 6 years by just opening up the Brinks truck for Matthew Stafford, and now that 5 or 6 years is damn, after year 2 or 3, we're going to have to do some reorganizing and figuring some things out with our salary cap. And I think that's where they were trying to maybe, give a hard bargain there.
You got to keep him healthy. You got to keep him upright as well. And the Alaric Jackson 3-year extension for $57 million and $35 million guaranteed hopefully will help with that. Mark Floyd wants to know from you, any thoughts on the Alaric Jackson signing? It goes unnoticed with the Stafford signing, but definitely a big deal for a contender.
Well, definitely a big deal. I mean, this is where the Rams, for my money, have changed and become a more dangerous team the last few years. They have put more assets into the O-line. Right, I felt like for a time there, McVay was the O-line will just be good enough, and I'll coach it up to hide the holes. Mm-hmm. They kind of went nah, we can't do that. It's too hard. Let's start getting some ass kickers in here. Let alone they got Mike LaFleur in there, who I think taught McVay even more of the Shanahan run game tricks. And therefore, they just more value in their running game, especially with Kyron Williams. And Alaric Jackson is a damn good football player. So, yeah, good for them getting that signed up with that guy at quarterback and that at running back. You don't want to mess that up. And then they just gave, Jonah Jackson, right? Was it Jonah Jackson? He can look for a trade. Am I right about
yes,
that? Right.
I did see that.
Yeah. So this is a smart move by them. This is one of their guys.
All right. So things looking better for the Rams there. They're getting their house in order this offseason. So every team that maybe had a hope of getting Matthew Stafford now has to figure out what they're going to do, including your New York Giants. And a report out there, they are interested in Aaron Rodgers.
Yes.
Your thoughts?
Well, just like we hit with Stafford, they're on Aaron Rodgers.
They need anything.
They need anything, and like we just said, they don't. In their perfect world, and if I had to put myself in Joe Schoen or Brian Daboll's shoes, they're going, wait, do we want to put our ass on the line for Cam Ward, who's a little raw, or Shedeur Sanders, who's a little raw, and deal with all that? Are we going to really put all our chips into like trusting those guys for our future, our family, our lives? No.
The only good thing about that is it probably does give you another year, right? Don't you
I don't
think?
know.
You don't think?
I don't think it does.
Because you're like, all right, we're going to grow this rookie, and if it gets better by the end of the year, then
maybe if they did that like a year ago or 2 years ago, it might have bought them. And they're now in do or die time. And that's going to be the interesting thing here. And as I dive into this more, hopefully I'll be able to clear up the picture of whether it's worthy to take one of these guys at 2 or 3. Mm-hmm. Are they overvalued because they're the top 2 quarterbacks and it's the quarterback position, right? I mean, I talk to quarterback coaches, offensive coordinators. It's all over the place on these guys. Some guys love their talent. Some guys love Cam Ward's high-end talent. I think a lot of people think they're both raw that way. I definitely came across a few people that I trust on the offensive side of the ball in the NFL who were like, I wouldn't want to take them in the top 3 or 5, right? So those are those type of questions. And I think when you add that on to the state of the Giants and where they are, right, that's where they're going, let's go with a guy that we know situational football. We can add as much offense as we want. We got Malik Neighbors. It's pretty good. You know, maybe we can keep Darius Slayton and some of the, we got a decent receiving core. I can see Rodgers and why he likes the Giants. One, there's not a ton of options out there. And if you take the options of Raiders, Jets, obviously, but that's not for him, Browns, Titans, Giants, right? The Giants, to me, would be one of the better ones in that area, right? Have a pretty good defensive line. The offensive line's got to get figured out. We know that. It got a little better towards the end of the year. They did show signs to run the ball. But, yeah, it's a no-brainer from the Giants' standpoint. And for Aaron Rodgers, I think if you look at the landscape, I'd go, this definitely would be one of the top options out there right now unless something changes significantly around the league.
And if you are the Giants, you really can do both, right? You have Aaron Rodgers, you hit the ground running, and then if one of these quarterbacks does not command 1-1 or 1-2, you draft a quarterback.
That's going to be the question too, right? Because Florio said this today too, and this will be an interesting discussion. If they do sign Aaron Rodgers, right? Mm-hmm. Rodgers and Joe Schoen and Daboll are going to be like, we signed him. We don't want to waste the number 3 pick on a quarterback that's not going to help us right now this year, right? Mm-hmm. They want guys that are going to help them save their ass this year, right? And that's where the conversation will get interesting. Is if let's just say they have a high grade on Cam Ward, right? And he's worthy of the 3 pick. Will the ownership step in and go, no, you got to take the quarterback too? I know he might not help you this year. I know it. But we're not going to ruin the state of the franchise for the next 7 years just because you're saving your ass this year, right? Those are the tough discussions that will have to happen. And then, of course, they should happen naturally with their evaluation of Cam Ward and when they start to have meetings between him and Shedeur Sanders and whether they think he's worthy of that pick. But I'm just saying that would be, again, if I'm Joe Schoen or Brian Daboll and we sign Aaron Rodgers, I'd go, no, pick 3 and pick 34. I want a guy that we know can help us this year. I'm not trying to do the quarterback and somebody else might get the benefits of him down the road and he doesn't help me out this year, right? That'll be an interesting dynamic to watch for.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see where those quarterbacks go. We saw Abdul Carter talked about as the number 1 pick by Abdul Carter. Said that I think I should be the number 1 pick.
Good for him, though.
Edge from Penn State when you guys talk to him. There is a report out there that the Tennessee Titans are drawing interest for the number 1 overall pick, and those reports are coming from inside the Tennessee Titans building. Potentially. But who knows? Who knows what will happen there? So DraftKings has the odds. Who will make that number 1 overall pick? DraftKings currently at least does not believe the reports. They have the Titans as the odds-on favorite, minus 280 to make that number 1 pick. But you got the Raiders there lurking, Jaguars lurking. Raiders a team that need a quarterback. Giants 4th at plus 550. So, did you hear anything about the Titans? And
no, I get the sense that it's early here. It's early. Everybody's still doing their homework, trying to figure this out, figuring out how to stack their board. I would think that option's on the floor or on the table for the Titans. Definitely.
Could be on the floor, too,
It
depending
could
on
be
where
on the floor, too. Exactly right. But, I mean, this could be a thing where, hey, one of these teams wants to make sure they get an Abdul Carter or somebody else high in the draft. They want to secure that.
Yeah.
They can get extra picks to build their football team. They might be able to deem the value of the 2 quarterbacks and trade to a certain spot and go, we think one of these 2 will still be here at 7 or 8 or something of that, right?
Yeah.
Right, to where then they could go, we could pick him there and then have maybe another first-round pick and another second-round pick in this draft, right? Those are the type of things that they got to figure out. And, that again, this is where hopefully as I evaluate and start to see the value of these guys and how damn good they are, hopefully I can clear up some of these conversations too as we go forward.
Well, that's what was curious to me is I don't know if it's more likely or less likely the pick gets traded because we have a draft this year where it doesn't seem like there's going to be a consensus slam dunk. He's 1 overall generational talent type player.
I know.
Right? So, But when there is that, the
Right.
team is less likely to trade that pick.
Yes.
So there isn't that, but then that also means that other teams may not be as aggressive in trying to get the number 1 pick.
Like, right. If there's not that number 1 guy, like we've talked about, like just in my early phases, and I talked to Connor with this when I was cheating on you at the Combine last week on Wednesday, was the fact that the other defensive ends are so good, in my opinion, I do think hurts Abdul Carter's chances of being number 1. And it hurts the scenario you're talking about where teams might go, we need a pass rusher, but okay, Abdul Carter is the top one, but James Pearce, Shemar Stewart, and the kid from Marshall, we have a grade that's like just a tick below them, right? To where it's like, he's got a 7.0 and they got a 6.98, right? And so, therefore, teams that are maybe at 4 or 5 or 6 or whatever else, they're going to go, we're not trading all these picks just to get that guy. We barely think he's better than the other 3 behind him, right? And that hurts that. So that's another thing. Again, early phases, but I watched like 15 to 20 plays of all the top guys. And damn, I was impressed by the DNs. Like, damn. Like, and I know we're going to talk about combine stuff here, but some of those guys helped themselves and they solidified that they are the freaks that they are, and that they're like going first round and they're going to be some of the top people in this draft. That's for sure.
Yeah, top half of the first round.
Exactly.
With some of those guys.
Right.
At DraftKings Sportsbook, the number 1 sportsbook for live betting. New customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets instantly.
Just download the app and use promo code Unbuttoned when you sign up. DraftKings Sportsbook. The crown is yours.
Sam Darnold is potentially yours if the Vikings move on, but they have until Tuesday to place the franchise tag on Sam Darnold. Scott M. 2032 wants to know, where is Sam Darnold playing next year? Thank you.
Yeah, that's I think if you look at it, I said some of the names a few minutes ago. Raiders, Browns, Titans, Giants, Colts, right? Jets, maybe, which would be crazy if he ended up back with the Jets for a second time around.
Florio's plugged into the Vikings, and on the show today, he's starting to lean maybe to thinking that they will franchise tag him.
There is that thought. I'd be shocked. One, tag and trade, would they do something like that? Maybe. But I'm not sure. What I would be scared of is you tag them, now it's 40-point-something million dollars.
Yeah.
Right? And most teams I feel like that want Sam Darnold don't want to pay him $40 million for the year.
I don't feel like
he
that
might
would,
get 25.
Exactly.
Right.
That doesn't seem like that would make him more desirable.
I don't think that's going to make a thing either. Right.
Yeah.
I don't. Right. I don't think that teams are going to love that and go, wait, okay. all right, so we're going to trade for him, and we're going to give him $40 million. I don't think he's instilled enough confidence in the league to just think he's going to command that type of price tag right away.
It seems like we'd rather get him for 2 years and 50 with a non-guaranteed,
exactly right.
10 or something like
that to me would be make more sense. I mean, really, I think this type of deal he does is a 1-year deal or a 2-year deal where the team can get out of it after the first year. Yeah. Almost like what we saw Geno Smith get in Seattle a few years ago, where it's like, hey, it's good. We're giving you a little money up front, but you're going to kind of have to earn the next year and the next year after that, right? Something like that. I think in my heart of hearts, I would just go, Minnesota, you drafted J.J. McCarthy. You thought he was the guy. By all due accounts, what we saw in training camp last year, he was on the trajectory to be your day one starter. Like, it looked like you guys were starting to believe in him enough to go, we like what he looks like. And we traded up a spot to get him in the first round. And, yeah, he's our guy going forward. Stay true to that evaluation. Let alone you got Daniel Jones back there who could be Sam Darnold 2.0. Definitely. So that, to me, would be the way to go. The Sam Darnold thing, is dicey, and I'd be worried about we tag him, like Florio says, we tag him, and then everyone's like, crickets, like, no, there's no market. And then you got to be, the jerk team that rescinds the tag, right? You don't want to do that. Let alone you don't want to have that tag on your number there for a while. You can't sign certain guys because it's taking up a chunk of your salary cap until you get them off the books, right? So there's just not a lot of positives there. I certainly think he'll be free to go where he wants. I'd be shocked if Minnesota messes with that.
So if you had to pick a place here on March 3rd, we will not hold you to this, but
Colts.
Scott M. wanted to know. Okay, Colts. Wow, okay.
I don't know about that. Hold on.
I am going to hold you to that.
Yeah. Wait. I liked I don't know why I said Colts.
I don't know, but it was one of those things that
Colts
popped
going, I think he will work in that offense. He's also, yes, he can play, but he's not so threatening and such a slam dunk that, like, Anthony Richardson's not like, I can beat him out, right? It's not like we're bringing Aaron Rodgers in, where it's just like, oh, it's over. Aaron Rodgers is the quarterback now. Mm-hmm. You're done. You're on the bench, right? Sam Darnold is going to be, if they brought him in, it'd be like, well, no, Anthony Richardson still can beat him out. Like, we're having a true competition, and that's what Chris Ballard said. Mm-hmm. So, okay. I don't know why. I like that thought there. Mm-hmm. I think it'll be the Titans, though. I guess it's the Titans. It's the other team in the AFC South that I'll go with there. Okay. I'll go with the Titans.
All right.
All right.
Like I said, we're not holding you to that.
Yeah, but you're holding me. It's fun. This is a fun one.
For as much as you thought about it, I'm leaning towards maybe holding you.
Yeah, please do. I definitely thought about it too long.
One more to get to before we get to the Combine players and what you saw there. A report is that, oh my gosh, the Eagles have real interest in trading for the Browns' edge superstar, Defensive Player of the Year, Myles Garrett. Is that really? I mean, that a possibility?
It's out there.
Oh my gosh!
But here, let's back this up. Let's think about this a little. One, the Eagles are a super team with a young nucleus where you're just like, why would you really want to disrupt anything? And the way you draft and all of that, like, why? Mm-hmm. Right? You're going to probably have to trade some of those players away, let alone picks away to get Myles Garrett. Let alone, we don't know what kind of next contract he's going to ask for, if he's going to ask for more money. You're, after next year, going to have to pay Jalen Carter as one of the highest paid defensive players in football, right? They got a lot of big money guys on their team altogether. This one, just to me, like, can they do it? Yes. Their team's ready, right? It doesn't matter. We don't really need to go like, oh, they're still building. They got holes here, right? So I can understand that. Yeah. Them just going, hey, we're really good everywhere. This just puts us into another level.
They've got some free agents that they would just not sign.
Exactly.
Like the Zach Bonds.
They'd have to let some people go, right, and just have to let that go by the wayside. So I understand them being able to do that, but I guess there's also a part of me that says why, and here's my true thought, right? This is what I said to Florio this morning too. Andrew Berry, the GM of the Browns, came from Philadelphia. Was there a part of me when I saw this yesterday that I went, is Philly kind of doing a solid for Andrew Berry and getting trade interest all revved up, and everybody in the NFL is like, the Eagles are going to get Myles Garrett? Hold on, we got to figure out some things on our end here. Maybe we should get in this conversation a little bit, right? Is there a part of me that thinks that maybe the Eagles are doing a solid for Myles Garrett's agent and Andrew Berry? Yes. Shit like that happens in the NFL. Again, I don't know that. Right? I could see both things being true. I really could. I could see the Eagles being crazy enough to go, yeah, we're an all-star team, and now we're going to be even more of an all-star team. Yeah. Or I could see them going, yeah, let's the league, and let's help out some old friends of ours here and drive up some interest and just everybody's heads. Would I see that too? Yeah, I could see that a little bit.
What I can say is that no one wants that to happen. Even people in Philly are like, that might be too much. We might be too greedy.
they got
I'm speaking as a Lions fan.
They got
they
got young pass rushers that are certainly coming up the ranks. None of them are Myles Garrett though at this point. And I don't know why. I don't feel like it's going to happen. But the Eagles have surprised me before.
I think Goodell would step in. Just be like, come on, guys.
That's unfair.
That's ridiculous.
We're rescinding
It's totally unfair. All right, so that's the NFL news that happened while you were in Indianapolis having a good time looking at legs and butts. And we will talk about those legs and butts and personalities. When we come back, it's the Chris Sims Scouting Combine recap after this. Welcome back to Chris Sims Unbuttoned, the Scouting Combine recap portion of the pod. You spent, 4 days in Indianapolis?
Well, Monday evening, and we left Friday afternoon.
Long days.
Good days.
Did you party at all?
You know what? I really was pretty good. I did not.
Good.
I did not. It's I was actually saying this to my wife when I got back Friday. It is nice that I'm at a spot in my career where I don't feel like I have to go out and network. Right.
Oh, good.
I have enough good friends and people I know everywhere where I'm not like, hey, I got to get this guy on my side. I need to go have a beer with him. Right. I got enough good friends where it could be like I'd get done with days. I'd go eat a little food. I'd text a friend, hey, I'm over here, blah, blah, blah. Hey, I'm going to come meet with you for 15 or 20 minutes, say hi. We haven't seen each other in a while, then move on. But, no late nights. I didn't do any of that.
And I forgot to ask you, too, and nothing that was on background or off the record or just kind of like said to you in confidence, but with all the interviews that you did with the GMs and the coaches and the people you met, anything that jumped out to you that was like, oh, wow, I didn't expect you to say that, or this is surprising to me, or anything you learned from those interviews you did with Mike?
I think just that, one, GMs, scouts, whatever, they like this draft. They think it's a deep draft.
They do like the depth of it.
I think so. O-line and D-line especially. Running backs especially, right? I think those three positions in this draft are viewed at as like, man, there's a lot of good ones, right? So that would be one for sure. And then, like I told you, I think the other thing I learned was that the quarterbacks is going to be interesting. It's going to be very interesting, right? I just felt like it was a little all over the place. And like I said, when I was there last year, and of course I knew and had watched the guys a little bit where I was like, damn, this is a good group. But the buzz about it confirmed it, right? Where I was in early stages there last year with that group, but had watched it, right? Where I was like, damn, they're good. But then to get there and have friends of mine that I know and everything like that, and everybody's like, hey, did you see these quarterbacks yet? I mean, they're freaking good, all of them, blah, 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 right? This year was a little bit like, hey, what do you like? I don't know. They're both a little, like I got a lot of that, right? I got a lot of that. And that's where I think it's going to be interesting. And, I don't come away just with a slam dunk going, oh, my gut feeling is that the whole league doesn't look at it and just go, oh, just because these are the two top quarterbacks, that this is definitely quarterbacks that are top 5 picks, right? I don't have that feeling at all.
Well, let's get into it. You did talk to Shedeur. You did talk to Cam Ward, but they did not participate in any of the workouts at the Combine. So Plug and Play 16 wants to know, hey, Chris and company, was wondering, with you being there, and who was the quarterback that had the best throwing session on Saturday? Heard good things about Dart and Ewers. Thanks as always. Can't wait for your prospect rankings. So Plug and Play 16.
Thank you.
We'll get those throughout the next 2 months here. Let's start with, we'll go through these one by one kind of, and
cool.
I know a couple of guys jumped out for you, but since he mentioned Jaxson Dart, we got some video of him at the Combine. I think he did a cartwheel, and then he also threw the ball 58 miles an hour. One is more applicable to what we'll see in the NFL, but it's still cool that he could do both of them.
It is
I don't know if we
cool,
have
and 58's pretty damn good.
58 is very good, right?
It's damn good. Once you start to get up to 58, 59, I think we've had a few guys that might have got to 60 or 61.
Right.
So
here's Jaxson Dart. There was the cartwheel. The cartwheel's not very good, actually.
Not great.
That's
not
a bad
great.
cartwheel.
I love Jaxson Dart in person. I really did. He's got franchise quarterback. He threw a wobbler here. I know. I saw this when he did it. It doesn't really matter. It probably would have been faster if he throws a spiral, right? Because it's going to cut through the air a little bit. But, obviously it didn't come out of his hand clean, and he was happy with it, and that's all there is to it, right? One, the personality of a NFL quarterback.
Okay.
Definitely. The charisma, just everything about him. There's no doubt about that. He has that kind of magic. Second thing is I like his body. Do I wish it was a little bit more muscular? Okay, just a little. I'm not saying much, but I do like his body. I like his legs. I mean, you see there. I mean, he's got some legs underneath him, right? There's some power. Killed the throwing of the combine. Killed it. Jaxson Dart killed it. Jaxson Dart can play quarterback. Again, I'm not deep into my evaluations, but what everybody's going to like about him compared to Cam and Shedeur is just how true he plays the position, right? You got to see him in every in-the-pocket situation possible, and it makes every throw possible. And even though there's not a wow, like, oh my gosh, it's a laser, right? There's a lot of good. And just like you saw in the workout on Saturday, it is a lot of good. And it's very easy and it's natural. Easily the best mechanics throwing the football, and I mean dropping his body in the proper position for the route to allow himself to put the ball where he wants it, right? So all of that, the easiness in which he throws the football. It's like he's out in the park having a catch. But yet, again, it's not like lasers, but it's still like, damn, that's a good throw. And he spins it and throws a perfect spiral every freaking throw. But it's easy. He drops back, and it's just relaxed. And it's, in cut, shoom, strike. Out cut, shoom, strike, right? So he just does it with such ease. And you could tell there's not thinking, and he's not like, let me be real mechanical or any of that. So I loved all of that. I thought Jaxson Dart of the first group was clearly the best one of the group.
Yeah.
And yes, I think he's going to open up some eyes.
Interesting.
It's just a jump start of opening up eyes to, I think, a guy that's probably going to rise in this draft process.
Wow, interesting, because I know there's a lot of debate. Are there going to be 3 quarterbacks taken in the first round? I know Dart's name's been in there. I know Milroe, if you believe in the running and think he can bring along the throwing.
Right.
Are you leaning towards, I know this is early.
I know.
But like what
As
you
I've
saw,
seen, Jaxson Dart's going to be the third guy off the board. Maybe he has a chance to sneak and be the second guy off the board. Maybe, right? That's where I'm excited to get into this, right? Right? Because today I start. Tomorrow is really like I'm diving in, right?
You're doing it.
I'm
Starting
going
tomorrow.
all in, full fledged. Right? I hope I can knock off 8-10 guys tomorrow.
the tan you got in the Caribbean will be long gone.
Will be long
You'll
gone.
be
I'm gonna
in
have to
that
go out in
barn.
this cold ass air and figure out a way to just let the sun hit me that way. But yeah, from that I really liked it, right? And again, it's not like I'm like always like, whoa, what arm power. It's just real good arm power with great control and easiness throwing the football. And the ball was on the money and on time for the most part all day long.
Interesting.
Right?
Okay.
Yep. He showed a great blend of, because you can't anticipate too much in this, right? You don't know. You haven't worked with these guys to anticipate and go, oh, he's going to come out at this angle
With
right
the
now.
receivers you're talking
right.
about,
So you can't do that. You got to be a little bit of like, yes, slight anticipation, but you need to see the guy kind of come out of the angle and then throw it, right?
Yeah.
Because you're like, I've never worked with this guy. I don't know who Johnny is from Missouri. I don't know how he's going to run this route.
Does he take an extra stutter step
Yeah,
out of the route?
exactly. Or
Yeah.
he leans somebody too far and you're going like, hey, I'm anticipating him coming out of the break, and that's when guys look silly.
Yeah.
Right? I thought he had just the right blend of showing a little anticipation, but more than not, just getting the job done and putting the ball right where it needed to be.
Who else impressed you?
Well, all right, the first group, Brady Cook was damn good.
Out of Missouri.
Brady Cook from Missouri, I think, was my biggest surprise. Having watched him in college football, I knew he had a little talent. I don't know if I realized he was such a machine throwing the football. That was the big thing, right? I didn't go like, he's surprising good. Again, I wasn't going, wow, but I wrote like, Cook more of a machine than just about everybody else in the group, other than Jaxson Dart. Let alone what he did running the 40. He ran 4.59, right? He had a hell of a day.
So if you look at his relative athletic score, which kind of takes into account all this stuff, it was unofficially 9.71 out of a possible 10. So that would rank him 30th out of 993 quarterbacks from 1987 to 2025.
Hey, he had a day. He had a day, no doubt about it. He looks the part, right? And another guy that I would say, maybe a hair more mechanical than Jaxson Dart, right? It's not as natural, but it was still easy for him. The ball went where he wanted to go throughout the day. When he did miss, he barely missed, right? And threw good spirals. I thought he was the surprise of the day for me, okay?
The size is not great, but everything else is athletic score.
That's it. That's it. And as we know in this game, in this day and age, right? I mean, you don't have to be 6'4" anymore to make it work in the NFL.
Yeah, and he loves it when the odds are stacked against him.
Yeah, right. And
That's what he tweeted.
He proved that. He proved that. And again, if you're going to be 6 foot, right? That's what he is, 6 foot and change. Is that what it was?
6'2", I think it said
Was it
there,
6'2"?
though. Seems like, yeah.
So 6'2" to run 4.
Bryce Young is like 4'11", so I think he's fine.
To run 4.59 at 215 and do that, and then put on that display throwing the football. Yeah, I think that definitely opened up eyes of people in the NFL. It opened up mine, that's for sure.
All right, who was another guy that jumped off?
Well, Quinn Ewers. I'm going to give Quinn Ewers some credit. I did like Quinn Ewers. My only problem with Quinn Ewers is a little bit what we saw throughout the regular season in college football. He anticipated too much. Right? You can't anticipate here. These are, let me see him come out, let me drive the ball to him. That's how it has to be. Again, I think some of his throws are because he tried to like put it in a spot, right? Like, ooh, he's going to come out here. Let me just throw it to a spot, and this guy will run right underneath it. No, you don't know this guy, and that didn't work out the right way.
Yeah.
Right? But his Ewers and Jaxson Dart are effortless. That's where I would give them over anybody else in this group, right? As even compared to Cook, who did well. Ewers can throw a 90-mile-per-hour fastball with zero effort. I mean, just looks like he's like literally just like, yeah, here you go, and I'm throwing a lob. First, and the ball comes out of his hand like with a perfect spiral every throw. I just wish he would tap into that a little bit more and be a little more aggressive with his lower base, his legs, popping into the ball. That will allow you to really get those extra mile per hours. And to me, yeah, he's just a little safe with it at a time. So like one of the things, and I think you saw this in my notes, is Jaxson Dart, Brady, Cook, then Ewers in the first group. Ewers has more potential than Cook. Cook more of a machine. Right? Those are the three that jumped out to me at the most in the first group. Right? And the second group.
Well, hold on. Before you move on.
I just want, and there was some other people in the first group.
We're going to get to those. With Ewers here, and this is coming from Swish B, who wants to know, when you go to scout Ewers, how will you factor in the injuries he dealt with this year? I thought he threw the ball really well in Indy, and I was wondering too, because he did tell you guys, you and Mike.
Yes.
He goes, I had a grade 3 high ankle sprain, a sprained rib, same as Derek Carr. When you're a rotational athlete, it's tough. You want to torque and let it go, but you just can't do it all the way. And so I think he's healthy now. Who knows if he's 100%? But it also may be some bad habits that he got into with the injury. So something to watch.
It is. It's something to watch, and I will take into account. And that's where I, like with a guy like him, I'll go back to the year before too to go, wait, let me see him healthy the year before just to get a gauge of how much different the ball jumped off his hand there when he was healthy, right? Now, I don't think it's going to be a great deal, but do I think some of that stuff knocked him off this year? Yes.
Yeah.
Those oblique injuries, I had it once in my career. It's annoying. You would be shocked at how long it takes to heal and how you can't really let it go and step on the gas to full extent, because when you feel that torque, you feel like, oh, I don't know if that thing's going to hold up. It feels like it might tear again. Then you add that on to, wait, I can't pop my legs underneath me and use my legs like I just talked about. Yes, that could create flat feet, to just not using them the right way in the pocket to mesh the movement in the pocket and the throw together. And I think I saw that a little at the combine too, again, where I just want to be like, hey, get to the back, pop up, get those legs underneath you. He's so gifted sometimes. I think he just gets to the top and he's like, my arm can kind of just throw it out there and I can just kind of be quiet with everything else. And I'm going to go, yeah, that's cool. But if you want to throw that laser in the cover 2 hole to some big-time receiver in a big moment, you got to do some of that other stuff, and that's just what I wish I would see from him a little bit more.
There's one quarterback that you were telling us to watch even before the Combine, out of Louisville, Tyler Shough.
Yes.
Doesn't look like Shough. Looks like Shough when you read it, so don't be confused, as I was when I first read it. Adiem 27, it's like Shough like corn, Pete says. That's a good way to remember it. Adiem 27 says, Tyler Shough, thoughts on him? Seems like an effortless thrower that is being super underrated.
100. Like, Shough is a guy that, again, a little bit like Jaxson Dart, when the NFL people put it on the film, they're going to go, wait, I like this guy. He's big. He throws the ball well. He controls it. He played in an offense that's pro style. He had a coach in Jeff Brom, right, who is tough on quarterbacks. So the NFL is going to like all of that stuff. Then there's the age. And again, I can't believe we're having this conversation again, where we just saw all old quarterbacks come in and kick ass in the NFL, and here we are. The next year we're going, well, he's 25. I don't know if he might be a little too old. Who gives a shit? I didn't know we were planning it to, hey, when he's 38, 13 years. Like, who cares? It's for 4 years, and we'll reevaluate then. What is this, like, stupid obsession with, like, all of a sudden the NFL, which is a 2 or 3 year business, we're worried about 15 years from now. Like, what? It makes no sense, let alone we just had a bunch of older quarterbacks come in and tear the league up and show they were mature and ready because of it. So, yes, but I thought him and Jaxson Dart won the day at the quarterback position. One, hey, better athlete than I think maybe I gave him credit for. We had a Louisville-Notre Dame game early in the year, so I got to watch him on film a little bit, right? And then, two, there's more power in his arm than I gave him credit for. My dad put him on my radar about 3 weeks ago. He's like, hey, because he had started a little bit looking at some of the college guys, and he's like, you're gonna like this Tyler Shough kid. He goes, he can play a little bit. He's got something to him.
Your dad knew how to say it.
My dad, well, he did. And then when I last weekend getting ready for the combine kind of started to look at things and just get a feel for these guys, I was kind of like, damn, Dad's right. He does got a little something. So I brought him up a bunch during the combine week. But yeah, he solidified that with how he played. And yeah, that's another guy that definitely his performance is going to help him, and he was going to rise up the draft process now for sure by the way he looked. He's just a bigger guy than I thought. His arm is more powerful than I thought. And then when you take that into account of, I think you saw enough of the workout where he didn't really miss the target or miss throws. He did everything right. Yeah, Tyler Shough going to rise up NFL boards for sure.
So while it's sounding like there's not the top-end quarterbacks here, except outside maybe a Cam Ward who turns into that.
But there's some...
These guys can play.
There's some guys here, like Kyle McCord would be the next one.
Syracuse quarterback?
Exactly.
Ohio State transfer?
Exactly right. Right? I mean, listen, I'll say it right now. Ohio State would have won the national championship with Kyle McCord. He's better than Will Howard, right? That's not debatable. So, like, I also thought that was ridiculous they got rid of him and it just put this bad, like, aura around him. Like, what? Ohio State didn't even want him, right? And it's like, well, I don't know why. And there's a lot of things I've heard there as far as that's concerned. But, yeah, McCord, right? Another guy, yeah, he played at Ohio State. He played at Syracuse. He played in some pro-style offenses. He makes a lot of big-time NFL throws, right? Got some experience, let alone got some talent. The only thing I didn't love about his workout the other day is I think he was a little careful, right? He kept his arm real tight because he didn't want to lose control of the ball at all. And there's just a few here where, again, I'm like, hey, I don't give a damn about, like, some of these, like, overall accuracy. I want to see you let it go and see what it looks like when you got to really put some pep on the ball in a big moment, right? And that would be my only negative there. But I think to your point and what you're saying is, yeah, we know the top two guys, and Jaxson Dart's probably in there now. We're going to say the top three guys. But there's some other guys below that I go, I like their makeup. I like the way they handle themselves. They seem like quarterbacks, and their talent's a little bit better than I think people are giving them credit for. And, there's a few here that got potential. I'm not saying superstars, but, again, would I be shocked if a guy like Kyle McCord could be a starter in the NFL one day and do something like that? Yeah, he's got more talent than Brock Purdy throwing the football than he did, right? So, and you saw he can have some games. Ask the Miami Hurricanes. He can tear you up and dissect you and do all of that. So that was a big day for him, for sure. I got two other guys I want to hit on to make sure. Though.
Okay. All right. Well, I think we'll hit on them.
Yeah, okay, cool.
Hey, trust me. Trust the process right here.
I'll trust you.
But since you brought up Will Howard, just real quickly, because, flags fly forever, and he's a national champion, and you can never take that away from him. But maybe he didn't have the best combine ever. 2K7 Steph says people are harping on Will Howard's accuracy during the drills. You said on an episode that you would rather see a quarterback prospect rip it and show off their arm strength instead of worrying about accuracy. Do you think Howard was trying to just rip it, or was he really struggling?
No, he was struggling.
Yeah.
That was ripping it for him. He doesn't.
So he was doing both.
He doesn't have a rip-it arm. That's just not what he is, right? This is where I questioned Ohio State. I like Will Howard, trust me. I mean, he's a great kid. I know that. I saw how he handled all the adversity this year. You want to root for him. Pretty good athlete. I get that. But, again, just to what I just said with Kyle McCord, I mean, we at Ohio State pretty early on in the Big Ten schedule here, and I remember as soon as it turning on going, wait, this guy's not as good as Kyle McCord. Why did they like Kyle McCord? This is not even close, actually. What? Right? I mean, yeah. So that's where, again, it's just underwhelming. And I know he played for Ohio State and he won the national championship, and I got all of that, right? But he was a big question on their football team all year, and yeah, he's a big question for me too as I go on here going forward. But that was not a good day.
Yeah.
I don't know. It wasn't. It doesn't matter. And listen, when there's off target and you're letting it rip, okay, I want off target like it's just missed the edge of the guy's hands, right? Or the guy had to turn his body and still caught it. I don't want off target where it's not on the screen. Nobody can even touch the ball. That is inaccurate. That's having no control over the football. And that's a different category there.
Not done for him. He can still impress at
He
the pro
definitely
day
can.
and try to rein it in. And
He's going to have
show
some
teams it was
pedigree,
an anomaly.
big game, toughness, all that stuff. Got experience. So teams are going to like that about Will Howard.
You know
for
who
sure.
else has that?
Yeah.
Dillon Gabriel. More starts and basically wins, it seems like, than most any other quarterback that ever played at Oregon there. What'd you think of him?
Dillon Gabriel is one where I watched him last week and I went, hey, damn, I mean, he got a quick release, and his arm is stronger than I gave it credit for, and of course he's a pretty good athlete. But damn, he plays small, and he looks really small in person too, right? And the only thing that concerned me a little bit is just the effort it takes to throw some of the routes. It's high effort throwing. It's like I always joke in my house, like he's giving it the old steroid jerk, right? You could feel like on certain routes there was like, like right where like Jaxson Dart was just like, shh, like you didn't hear anything, like he wasn't breathing hard. Where like Dillon Gabriel looked like it was like, I gotta throw it harder, right? And when he did that, his mechanics changed and the ball kind of went all over the place. So yeah, I liked his game on film. I think teams are gonna like that. He can do some things but the size is going to be a thing, let alone it's a high-effort thrower, and that's what teams are going to have to kind of try to figure out what they like and how much they like him.
All right, I want to get into a couple dual threat quarterbacks here.
Yeah.
And hopefully that I hit the quarterbacks or the things that you want to talk about, because then you won't trust me anymore if I don't eventually get around to it here. We got Jalen Milroe in a second, but let's just hit on Riley Leonard for a second, because he was at Notre Dame. And he was – I remember Michael Robinson, we'd always debate this. Is he a running quarterback or is he a runner playing quarterback? And how good of a thrower is he? How much can he see the pass game? Right. What do you think of Riley Leonard from Notre Dame?
You want another guy who I think killed the weekend and killed the workout and definitely improved his stock, at least for me. Let me just say this. And I was one of those guys that was critical on our Big Ten show, right? I was going, damn, they got to throw the ball better. He's got to throw the ball better. They can't go to the national championship and go, we can only trust our quarterback to make like 2 or 3 different throws, right? There were some of those issues. I get that. There's 2 things right away before we can get on the field work. First off, unbelievable kid, human being, charisma, professional, the kind of guy you want to date your daughter, the kind of guy you want in front of the podium leading your football team, right? Yeah. Like, goes without saying. Second thing is, dude's a big He's bigger than people realize. He is big and long and got a great athletic-looking body. Taller than me, right? Longer arms than me, longer legs than me. He is a big dude and has a great athletic look about him. Other thing is watching him throw, hey, the ball comes out of his hand. He has way more power on the ball than I thought he did. Way more, right? And I had a few people tell me that when I was there. They're going to go, hey, I'm not saying he's a great quarterback. I had a few coaches go, I think his arm's pretty damn strong, or stronger than people realize. We saw a few big-time throws in the college football playoffs, certainly. He was good when he needed to be at the end. But, yeah, the way he looked mechanically, how natural and how easy the power is, let alone I know he's tough, he's smart as hell, and he can run, right? I mean, he's the kind of guy where I go, I wouldn't be shocked if he ran 4.58 at his pro day or something like that, right? A Brady Cook type of number. Yeah. I thought he absolutely killed the workout. He was one of the winners of the day. Wow. For sure, right? I mean, if you made me rank them, I'm going to go for the day, Jaxson Dart and Tyler Shough won the day, right? And then guys like McCord and Riley Leonard and Quinn Ewers would be that second group of guys, and Brady Cook, where I'd go, they did a lot of good and they helped themselves for sure.
Yeah, we interviewed Riley Leonard when we were at Notre Dame. He's got a different personality too. He's like he's not one of these like super old guy. He comes off as like a young spirit
definitely,
but excited and enthusiastic about attacking the challenges.
You could tell he loves it. He loved being there. He was excited to be there. All of that.
I love this too. When you asked him about the basketball and football, he goes, "If you ask anyone from my hometown, they still think of me as a basketball player." He was all set to play on the Nike circuit, and then he goes, "COVID hit. Football offers came first. Coach Cutcliffe over at Duke." believed in me, and the rest is history.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
He was a basketball player.
He's got a
Now he's playing
basketball-looking body. And if you saw his basketball highlights, which I think we showed one time during our Big Ten pregame show.
Yes.
I mean, yeah, it's real. I mean, he's dunking on people. It's
He's
easy.
an athlete.
He is a real athlete. No doubt about that.
All right, so he impressed you.
Yep.
You know who's an athlete as well as Jalen Milroe. It'll be very interesting to see how the chatter goes with him as we get closer to the draft.
Right.
This is Curbio Analytics says to you, based on study and what you've heard, which quarterback is viewed differently the most between the NFL and the public? I got to think Milroe is viewed much more highly in NFL circles than what the public thinks of him. So, so what's the chatter? What did we see from Milroe? Nothing, right? The measurables
and he threw.
And he threw.
That was it. I know. I was kind of hoping.
Wanted to see him run.
I was kind of hoping he'd run just to give himself some positive vibes and be like, "Hey, here's a 4.4 flat. Up yours, everybody." Right? You want something positive to talk about. Right. Now, with Milroe. Right, Milroe's a little bit of a project. We know that, but there's elite traits with Milroe, and that's where, I think he'll be looked at and viewed at maybe a little differently than what the public thinks. Right, I understand at the end of the year at Alabama, it didn't go great. He kind of fell apart. He did not play his best football. The Senior Bowl, we had one day that was not very good either. I don't know if you've met him or not. He would be in the category of Riley Leonard, where it's extremely impressive. You're like, damn, this is an awesome young man, and I'd love, again, for him to date my daughter or whatever. He's that kind of quality.
Doesn't your daughter dating someone
yes,
too, by the way?
Yes, but for these guys, I'd throw him away.
Her boyfriend's going to be offended by you saying this so many times. He told
last year I dumped him for Bo Nix. Didn't I dump her for Bo Nix last year or Caleb Williams? One of them. I feel like I did.
Yeah. And your daughter's like, you've never introduced me to any of these people.
Or J.J. McCarthy. I think I dumped him last year for J.J. McCarthy. Great. Yes, exactly.
But Milroe said you don't tell a zebra to be a dog, right? Because a position change or whatever. I think that would be the question about him. And I've heard a couple times is like, especially 2 years ago in that Michigan, they try not to put a ton on his plate.
Yes.
And I don't know if this was just 2 years ago, if he came a long way in the last year, but I think handling and processing the quarterback position as a quarterback has been maybe a little bit more of a struggle.
Yes. He's one of those guys where I think what you were almost saying a minute ago, a little bit with Riley Leonard, is he a quarterback who's an athlete or an athlete who plays quarterback?
Yeah.
Right? And there's a difference there. And I think to a lot of people it's a little bit like, it looks like he's an athlete who's playing quarterback, right? He's still learning the nuances of the position and all that. But I've seen improvement through the last few years. And there's one thing you can't deny. I mean, he's a specimen. More times than not when he's on the field, he's definitely one of the 2 or 3 best athletes on the football field. He had about 5 or 6 games this year where he absolutely carried the Alabama football team. Carried them. They couldn't run the ball. All the plays they made were all because of him. And here's the other thing. His arm is elite. The power in his arm is elite. It is, out of all the people we saw there, when they threw it their best and really striped it, I don't think anybody's arm was as strong as Jalen Milroe's. Now, it's still not always smooth, and it's still not always consistent. And there are times he gets at the top of the drop, and he just lets his arm do it, and he doesn't use his legs or upper body movement or all that. So, there's going to be work there done. But would I think there's a chance of maybe this guy getting maybe drafted a little earlier than most people think? I don't think first round's happening, anything like that.
Yeah.
But would it be crazy to think he could rise up and kind of surprise people because people go, oh, there's some things that we think we can do with him, and we think he's got the right work ethic and attitude to improve on some of these things we don't like, and we see that there's some light at the end of the tunnel with this player? No, that would not shock me. Because like I said, his good, when you turn on the film, you're going to go, oh, my gosh, whoa, that's unreal throw. That's unreal throw. That's unreal escape, right? You're going to see some of that. And as we always talk about, the draft, and especially the first 3 or 4 rounds, are about elite traits, and he has some of that.
There were some interesting things with the measurables with Milroe, and we got a question here from Tomato Pace. It says, how does Milroe's hands grow in less than a month? Is this a method I can apply to other places? Question mark.
Well, what kind of places you talking about, Tomato Paste? But yes, I think there is. It's called stretching. You can stretch things out. Okay,
all right. We don't need to go down this road.
I'm just talking about hands. Okay. You can stretch your hands.
Maybe that's what he did, because he was 8 3/4 inches at the Super Bowl or Senior Bowl.
Right.
His hands, and 9 3/8 inches at the Combine.
I think sometimes they don't even realize how they're being measured. Right. So you just put your hand up sometimes, and you go, wait, there's my hand. And then you realize, wait, they're actually measuring from here to here. That's the most important thing.
Yeah.
So I saw people at the Senior Bowl when I was there do the same thing. And they were like, no, spread your hand out. We're going from here to there. And they're like, oh, okay, I didn't realize that.
Okay.
That's, to me, one of the things that has to change here, right? Joe Burrow got listed as bad, not having big hands. His hands are the same size as mine. I maybe had like 2 millimeters more than him. What I do have is a double jointed thumb that allows me to spread it out to an unbelievable extent between here and here. Right?
And being double jointed does not help you when you throw a football, or does it?
If you are a gripper who really wants to jam the ball into your hand, it did for me.
Oh, interesting.
Right? So, yeah, I had that ability. Yeah. But I was in college. You asked my dad. I mean, first off, as we talked about, when I made fun of Tom Brady or whoever else, have a smaller object, it's easier to throw, right? There's a reason. I mean, the college football is a little smaller than the NFL ball. It's not fair. And if you gave guys, Mahomes throwing a college ball, like, forget about it. He's going to make every throw in the history of mankind on his knees. Forget about on his feet, right? So there is a difference there. But, to stretch your hands out and maybe make the ball smaller in your hands, is there something to gain from that? Of course there is, definitely. And I used to sit in my college dorm room, and during the year, during the off season, I would grab the basketball all day long. I would keep palming the basketball, stretching my hands. And then I would grab that football and go, damn, this feels like I could throw this a quarter mile right now. It's so much smaller than that damn basketball. And then I got to the point where, my hands did start to stretch out. They got stronger. And all of a sudden I was like, look at me. I'm palming the ball and doing little, one-handed pump fakes with a basketball. So think about what you could do with the football. So you can grow that, and stretch that out. And I would think that's what he did. And maybe he had some awareness, too, to go, wait, I got to let my thumb go a little bit to get that extra, few inches there. Yeah. So there you go at Tomato Paste. If you're just asking for a friend, you got it.
Well done. I don't know how we got through that.
We got through it.
We got through it. Edit anything out of the podcast. 2 more before we go to a break here about the interviews. And Kenny Toche wants to know, what are your thoughts on the interviews you did with the players? I thought Cam Ward was exceptional and the exact opposite from Sanders, likely interviewed with teams in a similar manner. I thought Shedeur was pretty good with you guys.
I thought he was too. Shedeur's, I think sometimes, and I'm not saying this is to Kenny or anybody out there, I think he can rub people the wrong way because they just look at him and go, oh, he thinks he's hot crap and he's Dion's son. Yeah. And he's got, a Rolls Royce already and he's got these unbelievable diamonds hanging for. So, there's people that just hate on him a little bit. Yeah. But, I thought he was great too. I thought he was really personable. He was easy to talk to. He's got great perspective, right? Yeah, he's got a microscope on him or a spotlight, whatever you want to say. But I found them both to be extremely engaging, and both easy to talk to, get it, and certainly you could tell they love football. There's no doubt about that. I feel like there's one in Cam Ward who's a little bit probably damn, I feel like I'm flying under the radar, and Shedeur is getting more attention than I am, and then Shedeur's having to deal with just crazy attention to the point where he's probably damn, would they stop asking for you to do an interview or do any of that? There's a little of all that going on. I won't lie, when I'm watching the damn thing on NFL Network on Saturday, and the second group of quarterbacks come out to throw, and we spend the first 5 minutes just interviewing Shedeur Sanders, and the quarterbacks are throwing, I was yelling at the TV screen, going, we just had an hour of dead time before this between the workouts. Why didn't we interview Shedeur then? Why did we wait for the quarterbacks to throw, and now we're not going to show them and just show Shedeur getting interviewed? That drove me crazy. I was yelling at the TV. My son will tell you that.
When you take over the combine, this will be different. Nelly Mo 2010 wants to know, which prospects impressed you the most from the interviews? Cam Ward impressed me the most. I think that mindset and personality, if matched by play on the field, can transform a franchise. So talked about Cam already. So, of the players you talked to.
Cam was great. Like I said, I thought Jaxson Dart was phenomenal. I thought Shedeur was really good. I don't want to take away from that. The quarterbacks, I think as a whole, we got Quinn Ewers and Tyler Shough. They were all, I was impressed with all of them. Okay. Now, just to get into some other positions, here's some of the ones that really jumped out to me. First off, I think everybody at NBC would tell you the Texas kids were top notch.
We're going to talk about the Texas kids coming up in the next segment.
Okay. Yeah. I didn't even realize it. My bad. So, then I don't want to go by any of the other ones yet. Let's talk about that and the ones that because I think we got some going on. But all right. So here's some other ones. I'll give you some ones. Okay. All right. Nick Emmanwori, the freak safety from South Carolina, who had one of the best combines ever.
This is just strictly on the interviews here, but
his personality was through the roof,
Awesome.
right? Like, I knew he was going to go crazy. He was so confident and like, I'm going to show you how awesome I am tomorrow. You were like, oh, gosh, this guy's a freak of nature, right?
And you talked about this with Connor a little bit when you did. It's just like these players are very comfortable.
I was
talking
really
on camera.
impressed with them, some of them. Malachi Starks,
Okay.
right? Georgia safety. Yes, really impressed by him. I was really impressed by Shemar Stewart. Shemar Stewart out of Texas A&M, the defensive end, the freaky guy, right? Mm-hmm. He had a superstar personality. He really did. I also like James Pearce, the kid from Tennessee, who was all about his business. Mike Green was really good from Marshall, another edge guy, right?
So these are a lot of guys in the top of the draft
that definitely popped to me, and I thought had the right way. Will Johnson, your corner from Michigan, totally impressive. Totally impressive. Really
he said
him.
He's the number one corner over Travis Hunter.
Well, I'm excited to see that too. Yeah. You know, I am. I mean, Will Johnson's special. He might be like, hey, I might not be as good as Travis Hunter all the way there, but you put me on an island, I think I'm better. I mean, I don't think that's a crazy thought. Ashton Genty through the roof. Like, they don't get any cooler than him, right? So those are some just in the pure interview process.
Pete liked Derek Harmon, the defensive tackle from Oregon.
He was great. Great perspective, had a little attitude, confidence, everything you wanted there. Yeah.
Were there any players that you want to needle and say, hey, open up a little bit more, let your personality fly?
I feel like Abdul Carter could be like that a little.
He's quiet. He's
quiet.
Yeah.
He's serious.
He is.
And, you know, he's very much like that. But, yeah, he could be a guy where I'd go, you know, you open up and just, you know, laugh and do all that. You know, it'll do you some good. It'll do you some good.
Abdul, and I don't think we are talking about him next segment, just real quick on Abdul Carter, because we didn't see much, the stress reaction in the foot. There's some concerning signs here. And I do feel like this is going to be a year where I don't know if it's just that enough people have been burned by, this is a can't-miss guy. I don't feel like there was that talk about almost anyone in the draft this year. And Abdul Carter, when you started to hear, it's like, oh, this is 1-1. He might be the best player in the draft. Even with him, there are some signs where it's just like, maybe he's not the guy.
There definitely is. And like the things that, you know, one that I think came up and just talking to friends of mine about him. Yeah, freak, right?
Yep.
But the other guys are good too, right? So we talked about them earlier on.
Yep.
Second thing is that position usually is a rocked up, like freak of nature looking guy. He's not exactly that, right? If you look at him in his uniform, it's not like, oh, rocked up, right? I think that scares people. He's got some off the field stuff, right? And to be the number one pick, 247 pounds on the edge, right? Like, that's kind of a smaller pass rushing defensive end type of guy, especially to be put in that kind of thing, right? So that's where I think there's some negatives. But the explosion and the physicality are real.
Yeah.
And it's just going to be, teams, are they comfortable with the attitude, some of the off-the-field stuff, the body, right? And he's going to be more than likely drafted to a team that wants the wide nine, and it's just all about the pass rush. He's not like, we want to make him an outside linebacker that's going to be trying to stop the run game and do some of that stuff in a 3-4 defense or anything like that. That's not who he is.
People are going to compare him to Micah Parsons because of the Penn State connection there. Micah Parsons had some off-field concerns too, and that may be part of the reason why he was, 10? Was he pick number 11,
He was pick number 11, off-the-field things, and he didn't play the COVID year. So you had to go back 2 years before that to watch the film. Those were the things that led to Micah Parsons being, the 11th pick
in retrospect should have been higher than that, but maybe Abdul Carter, even though he doesn't have the hype of a Micah Parsons now, could be taken higher than 11. Probably will be.
I think he will be. I don't think there's any doubt about that. It's just, is he a slam dunk to go to number 1? I'm not ready to say that.
Yeah.
Certainly not. And like I said, from what I saw, I was really impressed with some of the other top DNs in this draft.
All right, we got to take a break. When we come back, Chris is going to gush about his Texas guys.
You know it.
And a lot more players from the Combine right after this. Welcome back to Chris Sims Unbuttoned. This is the Scouting Combine recap. We've gone through the quarterback, some of the other players, and now it is time to talk about your long. I mean, we might as well just play the song if you're going to do that.
Yeah, Texas fight.
There we go.
Texas fight, Texas fight. If you're wondering what school won the Combine, it's Texas this weekend. Between Quinn Ewers, Jahdae Brown, Matthew Golden, Isaiah Bond.
Sure.
One of my favorite players, Andrew Mukuba, the safety. Let's not forget the running back, Blue, had the second fastest running back time in the 40.
Yeah,
right?
Not going to forget him.
Gunnar Helm's damn good. He turned his ankle before the 40. He was not
did.
totally healthy there to run that. He shouldn't have done it once he did that.
And what people say is what you definitely want to do is win the combine. National championship, SEC title. Who cares about any of that
you're
stuff?
going to do that to me.
Win the
Okay,
combine.
yep. Yeah, you're a real jerk over here, certainly. Yeah, but a lot of good. One, I know we were all impressed with the Texas guys.
Yes.
Texas, Michigan, Notre Dame, right? Their guys usually got it, they're pretty buttoned up, right? Well-rounded individuals.
They're ready for it. They go to college preparing for the combine, basically.
A little bit. And I think they're the type of programs where, once they get it rolling, right, they don't have to take chances on any kids that are like, oh, wait, he's struggling in school, or this kid's been in trouble a few times, but he's damn good, right? They're such big schools and
professional
the fact
programs
that
already.
they cannot have to risk it on that. But, yeah, the Texas kids were really important, and I thought really kicked some freaking ass.
It wasn't long ago, 2022, that Texas didn't even have a single player drafted, and now you got a bunch of guys who are going to be going off the board, probably some of them very early. Let's start that corner. What is it? Jade Barron.
Yeah.
I think is that how you say that?
Did I just call him Brown?
You called him Brown.
I did.
But that's all right.
Jade Barron was my favorite guy at the Combine.
It's more of a burnt orange, but yeah.
If I would
favorite
love
guy of
my
all
favorite
of them.
player of everybody.
Of all the interviews or?
Everybody. He was the best. I want you to look at my Texas fight Instagram video, and maybe we could play that even on here, if so, because he was like me. He's silly, right? And I'd be singing Texas fight, and he would join with me. And then he was like, oh, you. And then I went, sucks, right? Because that's one of our things. Oh, you sucks, right? So he was great, let alone is he Jim Thorpe Award winner, one of the best DBs in football. But then to go out and run 4.39, game over, top 25 pick, that ends. I think some people weren't sure it was the end of the first round, maybe early second round. That ends that. He is going to be a nickel safety hybrid, probably mainly a nickel, right? I think just a nickel. And with 4.39, maybe he goes outside more. But we know how valuable that position is, and I think he's going to kill it at the next level.
Couple wide receivers. You had Isaiah Bond, who goes, I'm going to break that Xavier Worthy. Combine.
But I'm not going to be as fast as the other receiver on my team.
He goes 4.39, and then Matthew Golden goes 4.29.
4.29. People were telling me to watch out for Matthew Golden. I didn't realize he was that fast. I'm not going to lie. I thought Isaiah Bond would put up a better number than he. But Matthew Golden in person, I didn't get a chance to meet Isaiah Bond. Really impressive. Right? Got that body of a receiver that it screams explosiveness without even watching him move. You're just like, that's an athlete right there. Okay. There's muscles everywhere. He's got the great look. He's not real big guy. He's got that great, it's a Jamar Chase look where you're like, hey, he could play on the outside and he's plenty good to go there, but he can get in the slot too and do some stuff there. I'm excited for what he can do in the NFL.
What do you like about the safety, Makuba?
Makuba is just, I didn't get a chance to meet him, but he was kind of my man crush watching throughout the year. Makuba has no regard for his body. I always love the psycho corner safety who just throws his body around and brings it. Nobody does it like Makuba. When you watch number 4 in Texas, it's heat-seeking missile. So I'm pumped to kind of break him down and do that. But yeah, you talk about him, you talk about Alfred Collins, the D tackle, right, who's damn good. I mean, we got some players in this draft, and I've heard a few people, of course, Kelvin Banks, the offensive tackle. I had a few people tell me in the NFL, like, hey, no doubt Texas is like 6 or 7 of the top 50, 60 players in the draft are from Texas, right? That's how good they are.
Good recruiting by
They got
Sark.
it rolling. They got it rolling. Sark's got it rolling. And once you get it rolling, at those kind of schools with that kind of coach, and then you got a quarterback like Arch Manning, you say, watch out, because it starts to recruit itself. People the players go down there and they go, wait, Jade Barron he's awesome and Makuba's so cool. I want to come here. What did Sarkisian say? I don't even remember what he said to me and my mom now, right? Oh my gosh, they have Arch Manning and I'm a receiver. I want to go there. And I feel like that's where they got it here at Texas right now.
Intern Brock wants to know what happened to your guy Gunnar Helm, though. You talked about it. He tested poorly, but he had a sprained ankle. It was on his false start on the 40-yard.
Yeah,
he still
It rolled pretty hard, too.
He still went through workouts and other things where it was like, he doesn't look very athletic. well, it's because he's on one leg right here. You know, another player that didn't test real well was Tez Johnson, the wide receiver out of Oregon.
Right.
And so Sam Monson put this out, formerly of PFF. Not
sure.
of PFF anymore. Is that true?
Yeah, there's been some changes there, right?
Okay, there have been some changes. So he's gone. We like Sam. Tez Johnson, he said, put together the weirdest workout composite of any wide receiver. So he's historically small. You see he's in the 0th percentile at 154 pounds. Pedestrian 40 time, which is really surprising, 4.51. Only above average or a good split at 153 in the split. Elite three cone. And has been clocked as one of the fastest wide receivers during drills, or at least he was. And I know during games, too, because PFF does, his old place, does an athletic score, and I think they have the GPS on him and can see if the guy's going fast. Tez Johnson was always one of the faster players in the Big Ten, according to the GPS tracking. So I don't know what happened here.
Sometimes you tighten up when you get in these type of things and you get to run the 40 and you're thinking about it, right? There's some that, like, you've heard the phrase, like, he plays fast, right?
Yeah.
There's something to that. There's guys that are like that, where all of a sudden we're just in, like, workout gear and I got to think about my mechanics. I don't run as fast as just when I'm like, hey, they said go chase that guy with the ball, and then all of a sudden I got another rocket up my ass, right? There is that. There's that aspect of it. I do think, just from watching Oregon Big Ten football this year a little bit, I questioned how his top-end speed was a little. I always was like, he's so small, it just looks like it's a lot of turnover. Is he really going somewhere?
Yeah.
I thought his 10 would be better than that. I did think. 153 for his size and all that. But, again, this is where I think, like, Bo Nix was the reason they threw screens last year. Oh, wait, Dillon Gabriel's there. Oh, they threw the same screens, right? It's the offense. And the kid that got drafted last year out of Oregon, everybody thought he was going to run fast as well. I'm blanking on his name. He ended up going in the mid-rounds, right? But everybody thought he was going to blaze too. I think people see the Oregon uniforms and they thought, it's high-flying and they're throwing and they must be really fast and it looks cool, right? And it's just not quite what we think it is. So we'll see where it goes. But, yeah, to be that small and not have a huge day, certainly going to, make some people question him.
It's tough because there are a lot of wide receivers that look, a couple out of Iowa State that I think tested pretty well. And so, again, like we've seen a trend here lately, the wide receiver depth, maybe not the top end, but it seems like a lot of good dudes that can play there.
Yeah.
Running back's the same thing. Ron Crocker says to you, with the league being a copycat league, do you see running backs going earlier this year and getting high-volume touches? If so, who are they? So overall, what do we think about the running backs this year?
It's deep. And like we started with the pod, right? I said that was one of the positions that early on, like, people right away comment like, man, there's a lot of good running backs. And not a shock, just because, again, I know this is the fourth time ever, but doing the Big Ten with you a little this year in the pregame shows, I felt like it was every week we got on a production meeting and I was like, damn, this team's got a good running back. Like, damn, there's good running backs on every freaking team we're watching here.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I do think that it's definitely increased value over the last 2 years and what we've seen from the good teams of the running back position. There's, of course, the thought of, hey, in college and the NFL, there's not a lot of tackling in practice anymore, and having to tackle the guy running through the hole is just not as easy as it used to be in 1987. So there's more value in that. Play action pass is the number one way to create explosive plays on the football field. So that, of course, comes off the running game. Yes, and I think, like something Jason Garrett has said before that always rings true, there is a difference between the top ones and that next group down. Those top ones can change a game and change a team. The next guys are, hey, he's good. He can do everything we want. But like we know, McCaffrey, when it's all systems go, Saquon Barkley, when it's all systems go, can do things that everybody else can't. Ashton Genty and Omarion Hampton, by all due accounts from everybody I talked to, and I haven't studied them at all. I mean, I knew Ashton Genty was a first-round pick and a top 20 pick for sure, but it sounds like Omarion Hampton's going to be in that conversation. But then you get into Dillon Sampson at Tennessee. You get into the two guys at Ohio State, especially Quinshon Judkins, right?
Yeah, Travion Henderson I don't think popped as much, but I've always, watching him the last couple of years, I'm like, man, that guy's a home run threat.
He is a home run threat. Smaller than I thought.
Smaller.
He's way,
and he has that injury. And he has that injury.
I know.
Problems.
A lot smaller than I thought.
Yeah.
I was like, he was one of those where I was like, damn, I don't know why you just looked a little bigger and thicker in that Ohio State uniform.
Interesting.
But yeah, I think those are some that jump out to me. And then it's the other guys that are down the line, like Cam Sam Scatabo. Ooh, he could be something going forward.
Yeah.
My guy I just talked about at Texas, Blue, right? He might not be, again, like in the top few rounds of the draft, but he could be a middle rounds like, damn, look at this guy next year. They got this guy as a third down back, and they're throwing him screens, and he's running for 70-yard touchdowns. I think all in all, it's a very well-rounded group throughout.
You think any of those guys hurt Ashton Genty's value?
No, I think he's that special that it will
Still
be
a step
undeniable,
above. Yeah.
right? It'll be undeniable. But like the kid from like Virginia Tech,
Yeah.
what? I don't know how to say his name. And
Tutton.
But like you talk about the look, the movement, all of that to me too. You know me, I'm just a base level look guy. When they kept every guy that kept up to the line for a drill, I was like, holy shit, he looks awesome. Holy shit, he looks awesome. Right? It wasn't like everybody was put together the way you want a running back to look.
Yeah.
So it sounds like it, and it looked like an impressive
We're
class.
going to have to learn his name. It might be Tootin. It might be Scootin' Tootin. 40-yard dash was
from Jersey.
4.32 seconds, tied for the fourth best running back time since 2013. You mentioned the safety out of South Carolina, Nick Emmanwori.
Yeah.
So his measurables, an unofficial perfect 10 on the relative athletic score out of a possible 10, which ranked number 1 out of the 1,000 strong safeties from 87 to now. So he was a beast. Now sometimes, and I know we've talked about this with some other guys in the past, like Melifonwu, his brother, was a great tester, and you're like, the measurables are through the roof. Wasn't as good of a football player, though.
Right.
Apparently this guy's a pretty good football player, too.
This is a different guy. Right, I heard enough of buzz about him leading up to Indy, knowing he was already a good player and hearing how freaky he was, right? And people going like, hey, I'm pumped to see what that safety from South Carolina does. I think he's going to like put on a show this weekend. That was definitely percolating throughout the combine and the talk there. And then like I talked to you, he was one of the favorite interviews. The safeties were so impressive altogether. It was a really good group. The
Xavier
guys we
Watts
interviewed.
out of Notre Dame.
Oh, just top notch. Like I brought up Malachi Starks already, who was
Georgia.
amazing. Yes, Xavier Watts was amazing. But yeah, Emmanwori, he's got some special attributes. You put up that type of workout with that type of body type he has, right? I'm excited to see him in the box and his range in the background because I don't have a great feel for him other than TV scouting, but like slam dunk first round after that kind of a
I think this is flipped. So last year we were like, when will the first defensive player be taken? And it wasn't until 15. Latu, correct?
Right,
was to the Colts. Was that
Colts.
The first one?
Yes.
I mean, out of the first 15 picks, how many are going to be defensive guys?
Yeah, it's going to be. I mean, you talk about the edge pass rushers.
So one of the edges, Shemar Stewart out of Texas A&M, he had a 9.99 on the athletic score.
I would think that he will be one of the biggest risers from where at least all the draft pundits had this before this process.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he's early man crush for Chris Sims. The 15 plays I watched, I was like, what the is this guy and what planet is he from? And then you meet the person and the charisma, and he's handsome and he's cool and just the body and the way it looked. Like, there's no way he's not going up the draft boards in a hurry, right? And like Pete said in my ear, beautiful eyes.
Great eyes.
Yeah, great eyes, right. So he did. They were like light brown eyes that I think mesmerized all of us, right, without getting too weird. But, yeah, he mesmerized me more in the fact of how he looked and the way he moved. And then you turn on the film and you go, wait, this isn't just some combine freak. This is a guy that can move and do everything you want and up a lot of plays, Ahmed. So I'm excited to kind of break him down even more, and I would be shocked if he doesn't continue to rise up boards as we go forward.
And one more player to talk about, the edge out of Tennessee, James Pearce, was the fastest in the 40 among all the edge at 4.47.
Yeah, he's got the look, the personality. Again, I think, because of his length and what he is, he's a little bit more maybe impressive even than Abdul Carter when you see him in person, a little bit more of a wow factor, right? Had a nice charisma, but yet also like you could tell he was here to do work and he was going to show you how damn good he is. And another guy, again, that I'll throw out there, 4.47, 1.56, 10, and watching him on film, usually I see these tall guys and I go, oh, they're usually stiff or they're not legit explosive. They can just cover a lot of ground with each stride, right? Got it all. And that's why I question that Abdul Carter stuff and all that, because I was just thoroughly impressed with some of these other guys I saw in this pass rushing group.
Yeah, he ran in a hoodie for the 40.
That's
because,
hilarious.
According to Stacey Dales of NFL Network, he forgot his other shirt.
He's
Like, I'll just run on the hoodie. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, he looked good. He pulled it off, and the hell with it. If you're fast, you're fast. That T-shirt or hoodie doesn't make that big of a difference.
Pete says he was up there in the stands watching when he broke 4.5, and the crowd went crazy. So they were rooting for Pearce in this one. I mean, I don't know. Like, you liked Turner last year. That got out of Alabama.
Right.
That went to the Falcons.
Yep.
And Latu was pretty productive.
Definitely.
But like athletically, these edges might be better.
I think so. Like Dallas Turner, we knew was raw and had more things to work on. It wasn't a lot of variety in pass rush move or wow factor. I think there's a little more wow factor with these guys. I think they're a little further along down the road, right? Dallas Turner's a freaky athlete, as we know, right? But these guys look like they have freakiness and have a little bit more to their game at this point than he did. And that's where I'll be interested. But the guys we mentioned, as long as the off-the-field stuff stays clean, like Stewart, Pearce, Green, Abdul, Carter, I have a hard time thinking that like they all are gone by the top 15 or 16. And I haven't even really studied them or watched the rest of the draft yet. I just know with that position and when you're that freaky and that specimen, you usually go in the top 15, 16 picks.
With all the interviews that you did, with all the players, these college guys, did any of them come up to the desk and Mike Florio had no idea who they were and you guys had to scramble, or you had no idea who they were? Because that would have happened to me.
Well, no, it always happens a little bit. Some of the guys, but like Pete,
not that Pete wanted
and
that to happen.
Casey do a great job of.
Good job.
These guys are coming right
Yes.
now. Every now and then, does a guy come up and you're like, I'm not sure which guy this is. Like,
right.
I don't know this. Tell me who this is, right? And
you
waiting,
introduce, you go, hey, Chris Sims.
or,
You hope
or
they
I'm
say
waiting
their
for
name.
Pete to go like say the name, like, hey guys, we have blah blah blah, and I'm like, oh, okay, it's him. Okay, like I'm not sure. I haven't had a face with the name yet. I don't even know how to match it up, right? Some of that definitely goes on, right? So that's nerve wracking. Most nerve wracking thing by far though is coaches in the waiting wings when you're interviewing another coach and you're like, damn, I'm talking to Mike McDaniel and I see Andy Reid sitting there waiting for us to finish, and behind him is Nick Sirianni, and you're feeling it like, I don't want to be disrespectful to them, so now you're trying to hurry on the interview you're involved in, and that's to me is the most pressure part of the combine.
Were there any awkward moments with any of the coaches or GMs?
I think we got it all settled down. We got it all right. We made it all work.
Okay, good.
We got it all in.
That was what I was interested in most. All right, well done.
Thank you, sir. Here we go. We're off. We're off.
off.
It's draft time. We're going to, of course, hit free agency. We were talking about before. Maybe we'll be here next Monday to do live free agency reactions, right?
Yes, I think that's the plan.
That's going to be part of our plan here.
So the homies will be able to comment live. It's one time a year. I feel like we do this once a year.
We got to do it. I think we're going to come on maybe at like 12 o'clock next Monday, and we'll go from there. We'll try to figure this out. We'll keep you updated. We'll be back here Wednesday. More stuff from the Combine, more free agency news, more NFL news. We'll be all over it here at Chris Sims Unbuttoned. Ahmed Freed will make sure of that. He loves to add work on my plate this time of the year. That's what he does. But everybody be good. Check us out Wednesday. Subscribe, rate, review. You know where to find us. Peace out, homies. Enjoy the next few days. We'll see you Wednesday. Peace out. Clap it up. Thanks for watching Chris Sims Unbuttoned. Hey, just because the season's over, it doesn't mean we're over. We ain't going anywhere. The NFL never dies.
We're staying right here. Hit subscribe. We got every NFL move. We'll react to that. Plus, Chris has got 4,719 draft prospect profiles to do.
Thanks again for watching. Subscribe. You know where to find us. Peace out, homies.